I want to welcome in Larry Sharpe, former former candidate for governor in New York State. He is a husband, father, a United States Marine. Thank you for your service, Larry. An entrepreneur, teacher, political activist. He's run for governor of New York twice. In his first run, he achieved third-party ballot access with about 100,000 votes. Then the state changed the rules, and it took that away. Larry he built a coalition for ballot access between the Libertarian Party, Green Party, and Forward Party. He supports ranked choice voting and tried to stop one-party rule in New York, which encourages corruption and districts where people run unopposed due to the corrupt power of gerrymandering. Larry Sharpe, thank you so much for coming to our panel this morning. It's great to have you aboard.
Thank you for having me, my friend. I appreciate it.
Larry, I'm a former New Yorker, born in Queens, Jamaica Hospital, just like President Trump. We moved to Delaware, my wife and I. We lived out on Long Island in Suffolk County. And there was a tax that was levied against small businesses back in 2005. And it was to prop up the public transportation system, the MTA.
Yep.
And it was called a mobility tax. You remember that, Larry?
I do, very much so. Absolutely, 100%.
And I got the notice that this was coming down, and I called my state representative, and I said, "This is outrageous." I said, "We're not going to stand for this. We've had enough. We're just going to move." He said, "You'd be better off moving." You know what? That's what we did, and we moved to Delaware. I sent him a postcard. We've arrived, and we're enjoying life. Larry,
sadly, Jake, there are over 200,000 New Yorkers leaving every single year. You're part of a massive flood. It's true.
We've been down here now almost 15 years, and you know what? If I never saw New York again, it would be just fine with me, Larry. But let me ask you, your thoughts of what Letitia James did 2 days ago, standing at the podium and basically threatening President Trump. What were your thoughts when you heard what Letitia James did and what she said a couple of days ago?
You put a lot on me here, and I want to cover a couple of these things.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I'm in Queens right now. Literally, AOC is my congressperson. I accept the condolences. I accept the condolences, yes.
Yes, okay.
The problem that we have here is someone's got to stay and fight, because this is the front line, right? This is the front line. What happens in New York, sadly, begins spreading all over the country. So we've got to stop them here in some way, shape, or form. So that's why I'm still here, and that's why I'm trying to fight here. I live in Queens, so I'm with you. I get it completely. I was born in Manhattan, but I still am in this city trying my best to fight it. New York City, by the way, is a wonderful place to visit. You might not want to live here, though, as you said. We are losing over 300,000 every 200,000 or 300,000 every single year. When Letitia James said what she said, I was not shocked at all. This is exactly in line with what she's been saying. She ran saying she would punish Donald Trump, and she did. She is just like everybody else. I don't want to fix things. I want to create a boogeyman, and I want to attack the boogeyman so you will ignore how bad I actually am in all my policies. Not shocked at all, Jake. Not even close.
Larry, I'm not sure if you're as old as I am, but I remember we had an attorney general in New York State. His name was Louis Lefkowitz. You may have heard of him.
Yep.
He was the people's lawyer in New York. He was not in any way political. He was an amazing man. He served, I don't know how many terms of attorney general that he served in New York. But the fact of the matter is, New York has really come 180 degrees from what Louis Lefkowitz was.
I'll go one step further, though.
Yeah,
the Democratic Party has become that. If you're old enough, I remember it too. I remember a Democratic Party that was against censorship, that was against war, that was all about freedom of speech, right? I remember that party back in the 70s. That party is nowhere. You can't find that party anymore.
It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
And let me, you talked about Trump, and let me bring this up if I could.
Yeah, please.
What Trump has done is he's brought together something that hasn't happened before. The Republican Party has a problem. It's a good problem, but it's a problem. And that is, it has become the party of everybody, not Democrats. When you become that kind of party, that's challenging to put them all together, to somehow handle them. But you can only do that with a strong central leader. And I think Trump was able to do that. If we think about his coalition, Elon Musk, former Democrat, Bernie supporter, Joe Rogan, former Democrat, Bernie supporter, Tulsi Gabbard, former Democrat, Bernie supporter.
RFK Jr.
RFK Jr.
Yes.
Former Democrat, like decades-long Democrat. I mean, this is what's happened to the Republican Party. Again, good and bad. Good that it's become his coalition. Bad in that that's going to be a challenge for the Republican Party to kind of get all those people together to work. And why has that happened? Because New York State is the perfect example of a Democratic Party. New York State is no longer welcoming. It's no longer trying to help people. If you remember what my governor said, she said literally, if you vote Republican, you are anti-woman and anti-American. Come on, Jake, come on.
But she's not the only one. When Andrew Cuomo was governor, he basically said, if you're Republicans, New York is not a place for you, leave. Didn't he? Did he say that?
His words were, if you are conservative, there's no place for you in this state.
Right.
That is what he said.
Yep.
And then now she doubled down. If you remember a couple years later when she came on, she said, if you're conservative, get in a bus and go to Florida. That's what she said. And now she says, not even conservative, just Republican. She went even further. She said, if you're Republican, you vote Republican, you're anti-American. And the problem is in New York State, there's no way around this because in my state, you add independents and Republicans together, and there's still more Democrats. Democrats dominate the state almost 2-1. In my city, New York City, they dominate 7-1. It is very hard to move forward. It's why I fight so much to change the system.
You know, it seems to me that we hear nothing but inclusive from I call them the Demcoms, because I believe that's who they are. But the Republican Party, all of a sudden, and if you take a look at this headline from the New York Post just 2 days ago, leading to the best showing for a Republican in a generation, Larry, the Republicans suddenly look like the inclusive party, and the Demcoms look like the exclusive party. Tell me if I'm wrong here.
No, you're exactly right. And this is a challenge for the Republican Party because, look, you know this. The Republican elites from years ago hate Trump. They don't want him in. They don't want him around. They're like, we want to go back to when it was Dick Cheney and George Bush. We don't like this guy. We don't want this. But sadly for them, good for America in that the victory was decisive. That was a good thing. And by the way, while I have you, let me take full credit for the decisive victory. RFK Jr. was able to make that victory decisive. Trump might have won without him, but he would not have been decisive without RFK Jr.'s. So let me add some to that. Just give you a little bit of oomph on that one.
And that's a great point. But when we come back, let's talk about this is going to be the first coalition government that the United States has ever had. We don't need just Republicans. All right, go ahead. All right, maybe you'll tell me whether I'm wrong here, but
Lincoln.
Okay, that's a fair point, but we're going to go down that road with respect to is America going embroiled in another civil war. Larry Sharpe is joining us. Larry, you are a libertarian, I guess, a proud libertarian, right?
100%.
All right, we're going to be talking more with Larry Sharpe on your News Talk America, Digital Interactive, and you're involved. Right back in a moment. And our guest and panelist, we're very pleased to have him with us this morning. His name is Larry Sharpe. He is a two-time gubernatorial candidate in New York State. And Larry, I don't know if you know Kara Castronova or not, but Kara is the co-host of Wise Guys on Newsmax. Tried in vain this past year to get her name included in the ballot for for the U.S. Senate seat currently held and continuing to be held by Kirsten Gillibrand. The Republican machine went to work in New York and deprived her. She was in court battles in Queens. She was in federal court in Brooklyn. The system in New York, I mean, the Republicans can say all they want of how overmatched they are in New York State. But the fact of the matter is they created this mess, and people like yourself are just trying to even the scales a little bit. Is that a good way of portraying what you're trying to do?
The Republicans stood me up the ballot the same year. I know her well. She tried to get on the ballot as a Republican. I tried on the ballot as a Libertarian. I went to court 8 times. The horrible New York State. I raised $400,000 as an independent candidate to get on the ballot, and that wasn't enough money to get on the ballot. RFK Jr. spent $1 million trying to get in the ballot in New York State, got 150,000 signatures, and they threw him off the ballot. Does not matter. New York State is an utterly broken system, and Republicans, Democrats join hands in this. And here's the problem, to be fair to both sides.
Yeah.
If you go to some place like Oklahoma, Democrats do it too. When you have one party in total charge of something,
right,
that party becomes corrupt, and the party under it just takes crumbs. So Republicans do that in New York, Democrats do that in Oklahoma. It's how it works. It's embarrassing. We are at a point in New York State where most of the people locally run unopposed. My last two people who are Assembly and State Assembly and State Senate, they got 99% of the vote. That's Kim Jong-un numbers. That's Saddam Hussein.
Larry, that's a great point.
Yes.
That's a that's a great point.
North Korea Light. That's where I live. I live in North Korea Light. That's where I am. So she is exactly correct. She should be angry. But let me be very forward. This is how Barack Obama got his first seat. He sued his person off the ballot too. Suing people off the ballot and lawfare is the way that the elites win. They try to do it with Trump. They try to put him in court. They try to sue him here and sue him there. They did it with RFK Jr. They sued him everywhere. They use lawfare and pretend they're being just. They use the law against the little guy and crush him. I see it everywhere. I get exactly what she's talking about. I know her. I want to see if I can get on a libertarian line. It couldn't work.
Sadly, she would have been a great candidate. But let me ask you what I mentioned before we went to break, and that is this may or may not be the first coalition government that we've seen, but it will be a coalition government. As a libertarian yourself, are you pleased to see people who are effective or will be effective heads of various departments being included, even though they may not have an R after their name? Larry, what do you think?
How in the world can I be unhappy when Thomas Massie is going to join the administration? Come on. Thomas Massie is the most libertarian congressman that we have. Hands down, not even close. I wish he was a libertarian, but he basically is, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, he doesn't have the L after his name. He has an R after his name, right?
Correct. Same, but not with Ron Paul. Paul, same thing. Ron Paul, I mean, he's like libertarian Jesus. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but
well, you mean Rand Paul? Ron Paul was his father, congressman.
I mean Ron Paul.
Congressman Ron Paul. Okay, yes.
They're talking about bringing Ron Paul in to help out with Elon. How can I not be happy about this? Of course I am. I'm ecstatic about these issues. I'm very happy that's happening, and I gotta say it is a sea change. And again, I'll bring it up again. The Republican Party establishment is gonna have to deal with this issue, or to be forward. You may see a lot of Republican neocons literally become Democrats. You may see them walk away because this was such a decisive victory. If Trump had barely won, if that was the case, maybe they would stay around and fight him and try to push back and all these things. Maybe. But his win was decisive. The neocons have to realize the party of George W. Bush and Dick Cheney is not the Republican Party anymore. And
no, it's Trump's party.
It is. And they may have to have, that's a tough pill for them to swallow. Some of them may actually become Democrats now. I think you may see some just leave the party.
You know, we've got a problem here in Delaware, Larry, where we had perhaps the highest Republican voter turnout this year, 75%. We usually between 47 maybe and 51% Republicans, registered Republicans actually come out to vote. We've got a ton of independents here. But Republicans got crushed on a night when Republicans did very well all over the country. And as a libertarian, what do you say to perhaps future candidates who might consider running as a libertarian to attract more independent voters? What do you think?
I think no matter what, you always focus on outcomes. You don't focus on attacks. And I think that's what Harris failed, right? Too many times you find independent candidates go, the system sucks, the guy is bad, he's bad. Harris tried that. It did not work. You have to have solutions. You have to have answers, right? Even if you don't like the specifics. What the Trump team did well, and it's going to sound crazy, in this 2024 compared to 2020, they actually provided hope. MAGA was Make America Great Again, and MAHA was Make America Healthy Again. In both of those cases, they provided hope. And to give the Democrats credit, when Barack Obama first ran, he was the hope and change guy. And we, as a country, we fell for it. We like that hope and change. We do. And in 2020, Trump wasn't as good projecting that. He was good in 2016 projecting it. He was good in 2024 projecting it. And I think that's what happened. If you're going to run for office, You've got to project some actual change. You've got to project some actual hope.
A final question, and I thought about this because Eric Adams is about to have even more legal problems thrust upon him by the Department of Justice. Yep. What happens if Eric Adams is forced to resign? He says he's not going to. I don't believe him. I'm sure you don't either. What do you think is going to happen as far as the mayor's office? And Mayor Giuliani's saying he might even consider running again. What say you, Larry Sharpe?
The problem is New York State's 7-1 Democrat to Republican now, and more Republicans are leaving. Florida is a red state because New Yorkers have filled it. All the red New Yorkers went to Florida, and that's why they filled it with that. So New York State's still going to probably have a Democratic governor. Democratic mayor probably, but there will be a ranked choice voting, and a lot of people will be involved, which means at least we'll have a lot of different voices out there. That's a good thing, and that part I'm happy about.
Larry, tell our viewers and listeners how they can find out more about you. I'd love to have you back on the program. I really would.
Absolutely. You can just Google Larry Sharpe. That's Sharpe with an E. I'm the most famous Larry Sharpe in the country, luckily. Or you can check me out on Google. You can check me out. I'm on YouTube, Facebook. I do a podcast myself almost every day at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you want to check me out, happy to have you aboard.
Larry, Semper Fi. God bless you for your service to the nation as well, sir.
Semper Fi. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.